Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I decided to bring on a really good friend of mine and someone who has helped me a lot in the last half a year, Hector. Hector is a very fascinating guy. He has a very fascinating story. In the last around 6 months, he pretty much just completely changed his life, like took a ridiculous 180 turn and just like made a lot of progress. So I thought it would be worth sharing his story. And so yeah, Hector, thank you so much for coming on the channel.
Thank you for having me on. Um, yeah,
Yeah. So can you tell people a little bit more about, you know, what you do, I guess what you have been doing more so for the last half a year, and you can even start before that, to be honest. And then, maybe a little bit more about what you are going to do in the future now, because you are shifting directions a little bit, but just to
yeah,
give people some context.
yeah. So I guess I can give a little bit of my story. So probably around like when was it? Maybe September, maybe a little bit later in the year. I was in a pretty bad spot in terms of my physical health and my mental health, and I just finished school and I wasn't really happy with where I was in life. I wasn't feeling great and stuff like that. And I knew that I kind of needed to change something up. Like I
Mhm.
couldn't really continue living like that. Yeah, so I was kind of just looking around at entrepreneurship and stuff like that and online businesses. Um, I tried out some stuff like a Facebook ad agency. Obviously, maybe that's quite a typical thing to start with, but
Yeah.
I started that. I tried it out. Didn't really work at all. Didn't make any progress. And then I came across Vince. I think it was actually um some video title like "What is a creative agency?" or something like that.
Hmm.
I watched that, and then I watched like the video of your story, I think it was.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I watched his videos, and then because I already had just backpedaling a little bit, I've kind of always been a little bit into like video editing and thumbnail design and stuff like that. Always been playing around with YouTube and posting YouTube videos, mostly like gaming videos and stuff like that when I was younger. But so I had the skills. And when I came across Vince's channel, I was like, I can do this. And then it kind of was something with aligned, like something that aligned with me a lot more than something like a Facebook ad agency or something like that.
Hmm.
So I kind of started working on that, just kind of consuming a lot of Vince's free, like resources and content on his channel, which was super helpful. And then going from there, I started like doing outreach, just following what Vince was saying. Um, and during this whole time, just to preface, I wasn't like feeling great this whole time. So it was a big like struggle. I was kind of like cycling uphill. Um, but then I got really into this stuff and really interested in it. So I ended up buying a program from Vince.
It was
Um,
actually, sorry to cut you off, but like it was basically the beta version of magnetic editing.
yeah,
And I remember, I mean, I hope it's okay if I share it with you. Like, you even had to get on like a payment plan to get there. So that just really shows like to
yeah,
get in that, and it wasn't an expensive program at all. So that just really shows like how far you came once we get into like some of the results as well. You've been able to get and like the things you learned. But yeah, so I hope you don't mind that sharing that.
yeah,
Uh,
totally. That's all good. Yeah, so yeah, I was quite like invested at the moment, even doing a payment plan for what was it, like a $400 program or something.
yeah,
So that kind of just goes to show that you don't really need anything to start something like a creative agency,
yeah.
kind of because of the nature of like service-based businesses. Um, so yeah, I did that, and then I ended up just it was kind of with the goal. I kind of had the creative skills, but it was with the goal of like learning more about the creative agency stuff
Yeah.
from you. Um, and maybe you could tell that a little bit. I know you like maybe were a little bit surprised that some of my creative skills were like all
Yeah.
right for
Yeah.
uh
So basically when Hector, and by the way, I would love to get a little bit more just into like why you actually decided to spend pretty much your last money into getting into a program at that point, because I think that's kind of like a breaking point for a lot of people where, it's this weird thing where they don't have enough money to get the education they want, but like the reason they don't have the money to get into whatever they want is because they don't have the education. So it's like this weird paradox, but you decided to like take the leap anyways and wanted to learn more. And yeah, when you joined magnetic editing, I guess beta, I was like, hey, this guy has really good sense for video editing. He creates some pretty clear thumbnails. Obviously, like there were some little things we could improve on, but like
yeah,
overall, you were very good, and also you were good at replicating the kind of style, for example, I created in videos. So I actually ended up like ended up hiring you as my
yeah,
video editor. And so Hector, for anyone who doesn't know, he has been helping me over like the last 6 months a lot with videos. So basically, almost every video in the last 6 months was edited by Hector, and he's been amazing to work with, by the way. So I just want to say thank you, like here publicly as well. And probably everyone else who's watching this should thank Hector as well for making these banger edits, because without you, like I couldn't really have put out as much content and as much quality content as we have this year. But yeah, anyway, so Hector was pretty good even when coming into it. He needed more help, I guess, or wanted to get some more guidance and clarity on like how to actually monetize his skills.
yeah,
But the
exactly.
thing was also, the best fit for that would have been to do one-on-one coaching,
Yeah,
but obviously that was kind of out of his budget range. So we actually ended up coming up with a deal where he was helping me with videos as well. I was paying him, but not like a super high amount for those videos. And I was also like giving him a lot of extra one-on-one help just for people who have context. So it was basically like if you were a one-on-one student of mine.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so just to circle back a little bit, like, can you explain to people why you decided to spend that like lost money into like your own education? And also, have you bought anything before that in terms of like educational products or courses, coaching programs, anything like that?
Yeah, so in terms of why I kind of decided to make that investment, I mean, I think it was kind of just um, you know, I kind of just needed to invest in myself and like trust in myself that I was gonna like I was actually invested in this and actually get some skin in the game,
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. Because, you know, a lot of people when they're starting things like creative agencies or service-based businesses or whatever it is, they say that they want it, but then they end up like, or a lot of people end up not following through with it. Um, and they kind of end up giving up later. I didn't want that to be me. I wanted to like actually like I was determined that I was going to make this happen and I didn't want to look back. And I saw this as something that would be really helpful for me moving forward. So I just put all the money I had into it, more than all the money I had into it.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, just kind of went for it because I felt like I just needed to look forward and trust that I'd be able to make it happen, basically.
yeah. Yeah, that was I think a very good decision looking back. Probably, I know I'm probably biased, but
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, after you joined that, obviously we did like a lot of one-on-one calls as well. And
Yeah.
I guess I was I kind of your first like retainer client then.
I'd signed one client before that.
Okay.
But that was yeah, I had signed one client before that. Mostly just from all the stuff I'd learned from your content and
Mhm.
just and this is kind of something that I think we're going to touch on a little bit, maybe like the mindset stuff. Um, I think that's really one of the most important parts when you're actually starting out.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's really important to know all the strategies. And I learned that from you. but just the like I was sitting down for like literally I just finished school, so I was sitting down, like waking up in the morning to
Hmm.
like the night, just just taking action, trying to figure stuff out, just yeah, just like implementing what I'd learned.
Yeah.
I think that's just doing outreach, even though it felt like my outreach messages were really bad, and I'm sure they were really bad, or looking back at them, they were. But I did it anyways because you just kind of have to learn along the way. You can't wait until your actions are um perfect. You kind of just have to take imperfect action, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely. And the first client you landed just through the advice from the videos and stuff like that. What kind of
yeah.
deal size was that?
It was $750 per month
Okay.
for 8 videos. So
Okay.
8 videos and 8 thumbnails and posting them.
Yeah, so that was like month one. Then you had me as a client as well. And then how did things go from there? Because at that point, like you were more so working as an editor pretty much because you were
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
one-man team at that point. Which actually is what a lot of people want on this channel. Like a lot of people, what you accomplished in this short of a time, like I don't know, we can get a bit more into that. Like how your income progressed from month one, month two, month three, month four. But like a lot of people on this channel, they just, want to land a few clients and become kind of like a video editor or freelancer and get
Yeah,
compensated fairly for that and be able to kind of, work their own hours and just not have like a corporate job.
yeah.
So yeah, how did that progression go like month by month? Because it hasn't been a long time, looking back. I'm sure it felt like a lot because like you said, you worked very, very hard and actually took a ton of action. But if
Yeah.
we look at it objectively, it hasn't been that long since you were at, zero. And then how did it progress over time?
Do you mean in terms of like
Clients, income, I guess overall income, if you're comfortable
yeah,
sharing
sure.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I signed my very first client for 750 US dollars per month on like one of the maybe like 2nd of January or something like that, I think. Um and then I started working with you. I'm not sure exactly
Yeah.
when
I
that
don't think we
was.
have to like enclose that necessarily or like disclose that, but like yeah, you started working with me. Um, and then after that, you signed the third client after me. What was
Yeah.
that kind of?
Third client was um actually, I don't remember the order of which one I saw next.
No worries. Just kind of like give us a ballpark, I guess. It's all right
Yeah,
if like does not everything lines up exactly with the
yeah.
months because I know
And
it's
then
a lot
I
happened.
think, yeah, and then I think it was um from there, as I was taking action, I just started pitching like higher or like bigger size packages.
Yeah.
So for higher numbers, because I kind of realized that there's no point of doing like of doing like low ticket stuff.
Mhm.
I kind of learned that from you as well, I think. And also with the offer that you helped me craft was really helpful. Um, and pitching that offer and increasing the price, I signed a client for $2,800 per month.
Yeah, which was
Um,
pretty big, right?
yeah, yeah, that was really big. I'm actually still working with him, so yeah, that's nice. And yeah, so that was like a 3 month package,
Hmm.
which was it included like the YouTube management type stuff with long form videos, thumbnails, posting the videos, SEO, like video ideas or
Yeah.
like researching video ideas and also short form content.
Hmm.
So it was like it is a pretty good amount of work,
Yeah.
but moving from, you know, the like prices I was charging before to $2,800 per month was quite a big jump.
Yeah.
Um,
Most people don't even make that from their job, in places like Europe or I think even in America, like in a lot of places, the average annual income is like $35,000. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much around that. And yeah, sure, you had a good amount of work with that, but not not nearly as much as a full-time job or anything like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
it
Definitely not.
can be pretty lucrative if you learn how to craft a good offer, how to sell on the phone,
Yeah.
and you are actually really good at the service as well, and you're a great person to work with, which
Yeah.
you checked all these boxes.
Yeah. I think that's also something like working with you one on one. There were so many things where there was just so much clarity, if you know what I mean. Like
Mhm.
you helped me so much with what I needed to be doing, the strategies that I need to be doing, stuff like crafting the offer, um, and also um, like just guidance when I was uncertain of what direction to go in, just having you there to guide me in the right direction. Because this is something that like many beginners, and I still do. I mean, I'm still very much a beginner. I'm not saying I'm not a beginner, but and even more successful entrepreneurs, if you're uncertain about what decision to make, if that makes sense, um, and you're kind of like weighing up two decisions, then you'll end up like maybe you follow through with one, but you're uncertain about it. You don't take full action. Um, you end up, just having these decisions like lingering on your mind,
Mhm.
which just makes you far less productive and effective and things like that. So having you there to guide me in the right direction and having the guidance from somebody who's already done it, if that makes sense, and knowing that I could trust you and what you told me, and I didn't have to like kind of question if I was doing the right thing,
Yeah.
that was super, super helpful because that meant that what I really needed to do is just do like do the things that I know that I need to do, like take action,
Yeah.
not just watch YouTube videos about like the strategy about how to do XYZ or the best outreach like method. I just already had that from you, from like the coaching. And then I just had to take the action. And then, you know,
Yeah, and you did. Like, I want to give all the credit to you because, most people can be told what to do and like get a lot of clarity, but most people still don't do the work. And I know you worked very hard, first of all, and also you did a lot of like inner mindset work.
yeah,
So we'll get into that as well shortly, but yeah, so that's a very good point. So yeah, if you don't mind sharing, like what was kind of the best month once you started, signing these clients? I know you signed like another one after that big $2,800 one as well.
yeah,
So like, yeah, what was your best month, and how many months into starting properly this creative venture was it? Like, yeah, month around what?
yeah. So by probably month, maybe month three,
Month three. Okay.
or no, so like by month three, I was up to like 5,500 per
Mhm.
month. Um, which that was like a huge jump to do that so quickly. That was like I finished school not that long ago, and then I'm already making more than my teachers. So that was something that was like it was it just felt crazy that you're able to do that if you just
Yeah.
actually commit and
Focus.
put in the work and just focus on
Yeah.
one thing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And obviously, like I remember you were working a lot because you were still like doing all the service delivery and everything.
Yeah.
Um, and you kind of started building out your backend systems and everything. But then I know pretty recently you started to actually realize you want to transition a bit more towards more of like a consulting offer.
Yeah.
So I guess you can tell people a few sentences about that if you want, in terms of like where you actually want to take this, because you decided against scaling up the creative agency model, which like I
Yeah.
totally understand. I think it's not for everyone, but obviously like it's a good model to get you started and off the ground,
Yeah.
start making some cash, right? Especially if you have some creative skills or you're really interested in this. But yeah, so how did it go from there?
Yeah. So kind of the reason I decided to transition away from the creative agency model is because I'm very ambitious, to
Yeah.
put it lightly, and my vision for the future, I know you can scale a creative agency to maybe 30, 40, 50, maybe more. Maybe if you're really good at it, after a really long time, maybe you could scale it to even close to 100K or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm really ambitious and I want to start building something where I'm able to get to like really high revenue numbers um,
Yeah.
in the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel
So,
like
mhm.
with a creative agency, maybe I'd be a little bit too limited to go as far as I wanted to.
Yeah, or
Um,
operationally, it does get very complex, especially
yeah,
once you get past, like 30, 50K months, or at
yeah,
least that's what I've seen. But I think it's a good, like for people who just want to, who are interested in it, who like the model, and they just want to put away a few $100,000, let's say, or like
yeah,
who don't necessarily like if you don't necessarily want to make, 5, $10 million or more a year and have the also the burden and like the complexity of that as well.
yeah,
Then I think it's a good model, and it can be like pretty well delegated and automated if you put a lot of
yeah,
effort into
definitely.
it. I think my good friend Greg, who I did a channel video with recently, is a good example of that. But yeah, I definitely think it is not the model to go for if you are like trying to actively scale that exact business to like multiple millions a year. But
Yeah,
at the same time, it's also like I think the service-based businesses are a good model for beginners because they will learn the skills that you need to build something that you can scale further. Like
yeah,
if you just want to go from 0 to 10 million with the first business, it's very unlikely to happen because those kind of businesses and also the business you're going to like transition more into or the business model, it requires much more knowledge and much
yeah, definitely.
like a higher level skill set, which a lot
Yeah,
of it I think you also acquired along
definitely.
this like 6 month journey.
Yeah,
So I think it makes sense for you to transition, especially if your ambitions are that high. But
yeah,
also for a lot of people, it might not be like a best move to go straight towards a consulting type of offer or
yeah,
like yeah. But that's just my 2 cents on it. I
yeah,
guess I might feel about it this way because this is the transition I went through as well. Might be
yeah,
biased, but yeah. Anyway, so what
yeah,
is it? What is kind of the new direction you're going more into
yeah. Just
with the?
quickly, two things I want to mention as well about what you said is I think um what I'm kind of like my reasoning behind doing this that I explained and being really, really ambitious. I think if you're just, like you said, if you want to put like a couple 100,000 in the bank or whatever it is, and you want to like set yourself up for the future, um, and everything like that, then I think a creative agency model is great. And I'm sure I could have scaled my creative agency much, much further. Um, it's also, I kind of have fallen in love with, if you want to call it the game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like just,
like business.
yeah, like just business, like marketing, sales, and also just grinding and putting in the work every single day. Like at the start, I didn't like it. Now I'll sit down a whole day, do the most boring stuff, and I enjoy it, if you know what I mean. And that's kind of just building and like building for my like building something big for the future is what I get a lot of enjoyment out of now. So that's kind of another reason. And also that's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to like literally sacrifice everything and just say no to everything to work on their business. And if that's
Yeah,
not you, then a creative agency model is great. Not that you don't have to put in work for that, but it's less like if you're trying to build a business that's doing multi six figures per month, then yeah, maybe that's not really going to happen if you're not like fully ambitious, if you get what I
yeah.
mean.
And you have to be like literally completely all in to get
Yeah,
there, especially if you want to
100%.
do it like relatively fast in a
Yeah,
few years, right? So yeah, just so people have the context, like what you're trying to do in as short of a time as you want to do it, probably. Like, yeah, it's obviously it's very like ambitious and so on, but yeah. So again, what exactly is it? The direction you're going in, or like what's kind of the new? If you want to share it, if you don't, that's
yeah,
fine as
sure.
well.
Sure. So it's kind of like under the umbrella of consulting still. So I guess an agency is still consulting,
Yeah.
just more of like, or at least if we're taking an example of a YouTube agency, it's kind of like a done for you
Yeah.
consulting service. And what I'm moving into is more of like a coaching or like a done with you type of thing,
Hmm.
because it's far more like scalable, and it also allows me to focus a lot more on these like the business related things, and building a lot of the skills that I know that I'm going to need if I want to build something really big. Um, and just to preface, my vision isn't, I want to start making a bunch of money in the next 6 months. I'm thinking very long term as well. And I think that um, switching to more of like a coaching offer is probably the better play for me. Um, yeah, and about what it is, it's kind of like branching off all the skills I have about content creation and YouTube marketing and all that type of stuff, and creating kind of an offer for coaches to kind of help them like implement a system and start or scale their YouTube channel to the point where it's bringing in a bunch of clients, because as most people know, like having a YouTube audience is like one of the most powerful things that you can have for like just building trust and
Yeah.
selling and stuff like that. So, and a lot of these people and online businesses, especially these like online coaches, they don't really know how to do any of this stuff, but they know that it's it would be very beneficial for them. So it's kind of what I'm calling like the like YouTube scaling systems. And that's kind of that whole offer, and help them implement implement this system and help them dial in all the content creation stuff so they can actually build a brand and be around in the long term, because that's what most online business owners, especially online coaches, I think want to build something for the long term, and don't just want to have like a little cash grab where they make some money and then
Yeah.
like go back to their 9 to 5 job or something. So yeah, that's a
It's
little bit of a
very, very
rundown.
exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah,
Um, I wanted to kind of get back onto the point of mindset and like
yeah,
paradigm shifts, because I think like if we really boil down to the core of what actually made you be able to go from um like zero revenue to 5.5K in the beginning, was a lot of the new material and also the new like worldviews that you are kind of exposed through.
yeah,
I gave you access to some like different material as well. I shared some of my own like worldviews, stuff like that. And again, I
yeah,
don't want to don't get me wrong, I don't want to take credit for all this. I'm just saying it to like give context to people as well, and like really just make people understand how powerful like paradigm shifts can be. Because
yeah,
truth is, like, if you are not where you want to be, or you not don't get the results that you want, you probably don't see the world really clearly for what it is, so you
yeah,
could get
definitely.
out exactly what you want out of it. Because the universe or the world is actually very fair. Like, it really
Yeah,
gives you
absolutely.
back, what you give it. um and so, yeah, you went through like a lot of different material around this time. We talked a lot about these kind of mindset related things as well. So what would you say were like the top? I know this is like a large question, so feel free to like even take your time a little bit to think it through. But like, what would you say were the biggest, I guess, false beliefs, first of all, that you held in the first place before starting this thing? Like things you believe to be true, but turns out that they are not actually true,
Yeah,
that could hold you back. And also, what were some of the biggest, I guess, worldview or mindset shifts that you have learned that allowed you to be able to progress this fast, and, you know, like allowed you to be able to do the work consistently, and like kind of like embody this new identity that you have now, which
yeah,
is like a polar opposite of of how you were like 7, 8 months ago when you were feeling very down, kind of like depressed, I would even say. I think you,
Yeah.
you said that, like, don't want to put words in your mouth, but yeah, like how do you go from that feeling hopeless, lost, all that, to this very driven and ambitious and like on their mission kind of person?
Yeah. There's a lot to say about like the mindset stuff. I
Yeah, we
think,
can break it down. So like first we can maybe
yeah,
start with the limiting beliefs maybe, or that kind of part, and then maybe
yeah,
transition more into the worldviews and paradigms.
yeah, yeah. So, and also just to preface, I think getting your mindset right is honestly probably the most important thing in terms of like
Yeah.
being successful in not only online business, but just in life in general, if you want to achieve big things and actually, yeah. So,
And sorry, just wanted to say, like, I know mindset as the word is being thrown around quite a lot, but I think most people don't understand what it really means. And I still haven't really got like a really good definition for it. But I think the way I would put it into words is like your decision making progress for everything in the world, like all the information that comes into your mind,
yeah,
and all the inputs, how you actually process those, and what kind of set of rules do you make your decisions based off of, and
yeah,
also just some of these like guiding principles and things that you have in your mind that you again just act upon and kind of make your own judgments on the word of based upon. I know it's a bit confusing, but that's kind of how I would put it. I don't know how you would, but just so
yeah,
people you know understand kind of what we are talking about here.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it or tried to like define it before, but I think that's a pretty good that's like distilling it down to a pretty good
Like a set
definition, I
of
think.
beliefs, right?
Yeah,
Mindset. It's like how you order your mind inside so there's no chaos.
yeah,
Like like just decoding the way you understand and look at the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess first I'll touch a little bit on beliefs. I think one good concept that I've kind of I'm not sure where I learned it from or heard it, but if you imagine like your mind like a closet, um, if you wanna if you wanna put new beliefs in there, like if you want to add new clothes like to the closet, then you got to take out clothes before you can add new ones. So
Mm.
before upgrading your closet to a better set of beliefs, like you have to kind of like overcome like the limiting beliefs that are holding you back.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way that I see it.
That's a really good
Um,
analogy actually.
yeah. And so in terms of limiting beliefs, I mean, there's so many common ones, like when you're starting out with, for example, like when I did with a creative agency. Um, I guess one of those is that like you don't like you're not deserving of success, if you know what I mean. And that's something that also you kind of have to prove to yourself by every day, like reaffirming just with the small actions. Like if you set a routine for yourself,
Yeah.
for example, you say, I'm going to wake up in the morning right when my alarm goes off. I'm not even going to think about it. And then I'm going to make my bed and I'm going to do like, and so on. Just doing these small things, you're like confirming to yourself that you're actually following through on the things that you say you're going to do, and you're actually like worthy and able of like the success that you want, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
think like when I started out, even though a lot of that I was probably like doing way too many habits, or I was, a lot of the time, like less is more. So
Mm.
I'd like journal, meditate, visualize, vision board, like huge routines, and that was too much, but it was good for me to like confirm to myself that I can actually do what I say I'm going to do. So that's kind of one thing, I guess.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah,
So I think that's very, very true. And I think it is really about confidence. Like the way you become confident in your ability to achieve anything you want is by those little things that you said. It's like you make a promise to yourself that you will do something, and then you actually follow through with it. And
Yeah.
you might have to start from these little small things, like not hitting the snooze button and then slowly building up. But the more times you follow through with promises that you make to yourself, the more confident you will be in yourself as a person. It's like, I don't know if in English this word makes sense, but I like breaking down words, like how are they made up?
Yeah.
Confidence is like, can you confide in yourself, right? That, I think that's probably where the word comes from, or at least in Hungarian, it's literally says like um self-trust. That's, if I were to translate like the
Yeah.
Hungarian word for confidence, it's like trust in oneself. To like, you need to be able to trust yourself, right? That's the biggest, I think, one of the biggest key things. And a lot of words, if you actually like think them through, like how is it actually made up, where does it come from, there is a lot of wisdom in a lot of words, if you break it
Yeah.
down to its core. I might be wrong with this one, but I think that's a pretty good one. um and also just wanted to say, like you said, you have been doing all these habits. Like when people look at you and they see that you went from 0 to 5.5K, let's say in 3 months, you have been probably doing this for a while, right? Like you've been in on self-improvement and you had to build the foundations, just so people
Yeah.
don't get this false idea that they can go from 0 to full time in 3 months. The only reason you've been able to do it is because already you've been building yourself up as a person and learning about these things. And then
Yeah.
once you had the clarity and the vehicle to put that towards, you could really just take off, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So I mentioned a little bit about the like Facebook ad agency stuff. Um, I started that in maybe, I'm guessing October or something like that. And at that point, I was just working on this stuff. It obviously wasn't the right vehicle for me,
Yeah.
kind of like you said, but I was building the not only like habits and but also a lot of like the mindset skills and
Yeah.
just yeah, like just like the simple stuff that you kind of just need to know and you can't really skip. And
Yeah.
also just the stuff like writing a to-do list and actually doing the stuff like actually doing the stuff that you said you were gonna do, stuff like that, and not hitting the snooze button in the morning and getting up straight away. Um, not yeah, like just these like small habits that you kind of need to build. Like you can't skip these things
Yeah.
and then just go straight to the 5K per month or 10K per month or whatever it is. You kind of need to build these skills. And that's why a lot of the time you see people who it seems like they got success quickly. It's really just like the latent like value of potential or whatever it's called. If you read the book um Atomic Habits,
Which is behind
it's
you.
yeah, it is. Yeah. It's just like the exponential curve. Like it's
Yeah.
not linear. You
No.
have to like kind of eat shit for a while, and then eventually it'll like people think that you're like you got success quickly or whatever, but it's really
Yeah.
just like the compounding effect building up and learning these like small skills and building like trust and belief in yourself. That's all like compounding into once you like building the skills and everything like that to actually get the results that you want.
Yeah.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
So that was one. What other beliefs do you have
Yeah.
that you want
I
to maybe share that you think were important to you?
yeah, I think beliefs about like that success is like all about luck.
Yeah.
Um, that's like a super false belief, in my opinion, that holds people back. And even after I started getting some success with my business, some of my like real life friends from school, I tried to like get them to kind of do the same thing that I was doing, but they just thought that like it's up to luck and stuff like that. But like the whole universe basically just operates on cause and effect.
Yeah.
Like without cause and effect, the universe like wouldn't exist, if you get what I mean. If it wasn't, if you did one thing, then another thing would happen, then like yeah, like nothing would operate like properly and like the world wouldn't be the same or whatever, if you get what I'm saying. It's kind of
Yeah.
a very deep thing to think about, but
Yeah, and like second order consequences. I feel
yeah,
like Sam Ovens
exactly.
talking about this, but
Yeah,
I learned so much from Sam Ovens about these things, and they really did shape my worldview a lot. So I'm so thankful for him.
yeah,
Just signed up for school, so at least I'm supporting him in some way
yeah.
now.
Do
But
that. I
um,
love Sam Ovens too.
magnetic editing moving to school soon, by the way. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
So,
that's a good
and that whole thing about like luck, it's like if you put the right inputs, then you're going to get the right outputs. An example is I think it's easy to a example that Sam Ovens gave, like him going out and drinking on the weekends. He did that as an input, and then he's gonna get the same output. So kind of just like understanding that, and that works in positive ways as well.
yeah.
If you like do enough outreach, then volume negates luck. It's not a matter of whether like you if you send enough outreach messages, you will sign clients and you will get better at outreach. If we take that example, it's like,
If you actually like actively try to improve as well. Because I
yeah,
met
of
some people
course,
who
of
sent
course.
out 5,000 messages, copy paste, or like get an email list from Fiverr, put it into like their standard, and they are like, "Oh, I sent out 5,000 messages, bro. How come I haven't got a client?" It's like, yeah, that's good that you did a lot of volume, but outreach is fractal. Like if it's not working on a small scale of like 500 to 1,000 messages, it's not going to work with more. So
Yeah,
you need to reiterate your approach as well and constantly study your approach, like keep improving it. You cannot just be like, you need to have at least, I think, some level of intelligence to be able to also like critically look at your own work, see how you can improve it, maybe get some outside help to help you with improving it. And
yeah,
as long as you do that, as long as you do the inputs, and also as long as you wait for the delay in the
yeah,
results, because there is a delay between like inputs and outputs, especially in the positive sense. Like most negative things, yeah, they might be more instant, but even with that, like if you just eat bad food once, you won't get fat. But
yeah,
right? But if you eat bad food every day for years, you will definitely be fat and unhealthy.
yeah,
So there's
definitely.
that as well. It's like, yes, it's inputs and outputs, cause and effect, but there is also like a delay in effect
Yeah,
from cause. That just want to add that to that, but that's a
yeah,
great point. Really good
yeah.
lesson.
And also to kind of add to what you said, and to kind of like revise what I said, I guess, is you also have to make sure that you're doing the right actions.
Yeah,
And that's why it's it's so like online education, for example, getting the knowledge that I got from you and getting the coaching from you, having that knowledge. Obviously I had to like reiterate on things like my outreach message and my strategy and how I was pitching my offer and stuff like that. But having that, like knowing what I needed to do and like having the right input, and then I just needed to like do enough of the input to get the output. So it wasn't a matter of luck. It was just a matter of, oh, like it's not like flipping a coin whether I sign a client. It's just about I do enough volume and I do it well enough, and then I'm gonna get the output that I want, if you know what I mean.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
Good point. Do you have any other like, yes, any other kind of these lessons you want to share before we go into more of like paradigms?
Yeah.
Any other false beliefs most people hold, and what might cause them to not be where they want to be,
Um,
or not even not be where they want to be, but not even but just like self-sabotage.
yeah.
I think a big one we can go into a bit later once we go into the paradigms and like those more deep things is like self-image, because that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing that holds
Yeah,
most
I was
people
gonna
back.
say that.
But any other ones like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the belief stuff also links to the paradigm stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll touch a little bit on that when we talk about the paradigm stuff, but also in terms of beliefs, um, yeah, I guess there's some stuff I want to talk about or like mention about identity and self-image and stuff.
Yes, we can
Um,
transition to that
yeah,
topic.
okay,
I
let's
think
do
it's
that
very
then.
much related.
Yeah, I think so too.
It all ties, everything ties in together, like the skills, the beliefs, the actions,
Yeah,
everything, right? So
yeah.
it's all
So
interconnected.
I guess should we talk a little bit about like the paradigm and worldview type stuff?
Yes, let's do it. I think it's
Okay,
very
so
valuable.
yeah, I think so too. I mean, this is stuff that like most people pretty much think in a certain way, and it holds a lot of people back from getting the success that they want,
Yeah,
and they don't even realize that they're thinking in a way that is hindering them because that's just how they've always thought.
yeah.
So one thing that Sam Ovens talks about, which I think is super powerful to understand, is the idea of like the physical and kind of like the I don't know what to call it, like the mental, like you probably know what I'm talking about when I say this, but too many people have a bias to like only the physical stuff. Um, like they think that like it's all just about taking the action and stuff like that, and just like yeah, like doing all the physical stuff, but it's so much about your like the inputs in your brain, how you think, your beliefs and stuff like that. And it's super important to have understanding that that stuff influences your results just as much, if that makes sense. So, like Sam Ovens says, your your hypothesis affects your outcome. So your
Mhm.
beliefs, like it's like a feedback loop. What you think becomes what you think about, and what you think about becomes your beliefs, and your beliefs become your reality. Because like your beliefs are pretty much everything, and that's or maybe not everything, but it's a huge part of your success because your beliefs like decide what action you take. So the reason a lot of people don't take action, I think, is because of the stuff like they don't believe that they can do it, and they don't believe that it's going to work, and they don't believe that they're worthy. If you flip all of those to the positive side, then that's going to turn into completely different actions that you're taking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, it's all a feedback loop of that's why it is like everybody's kind of dealt the way I look at it in life is everybody's kind of dealt different cards. Like if you are playing poker and if you were born into a very rough environment and a very like toxic household or whatever, you are kind of dealt a shitty card. Like you have like a
Yeah,
2 and a 6. And if you were born into a wealthy family where everything is healthy and all that, you kind of got like double aces, right? You have more things that line up for you. So I do think in some sense, like it is harder if you are born to either a country that's not really, like that's very in a toxic mindset or household or community or whatever. Because the thing is, what you see and what people tell you around you will shape your beliefs about the world as well,
yeah,
right? Like if you always had money being, if you always saw that money was scarce around you, well, that's going to be your initial belief, which is going to dictate the way you work, the way you charge your prices, the way you apply for jobs and everything. And
yeah,
so that's going to dictate how much money you have, which will kind of like, again, feed back into your belief that money is scarce because you don't have a lot, which will make you, again, take more actions that lead you to not having a lot of money. And then that will, again, feed back into your belief. So it's all just a serving loop. So you need to, at some point, if you want to break out of it, and even it doesn't just apply to money either. It's like same thing with relationships. It's the same
yeah,
thing with physical health, right?
yeah,
Or friendships. It's like whatever pattern you have seen is the one that you are kind of automatically almost destined to repeat unless you break that cycle at some point. And talking about breaking the cycle, I know you did a lot of like visualization or like some of us calls this the alchemy of self. And it's funny
yeah,
because I've been to like some masterminds recently, and one particularly where there were a lot of guys who are in their 20s and making millions and millions of dollars a year. And pretty much every one of them did this exercise that Sam Ovens showed like 5 years ago, where you would
yeah,
literally like write out a manifesto for yourself, write out kind of like what kind of person you want to become, and put up like a vision board with pictures of the exact life you want to create. So like painting a very vivid picture for yourself and looking at it every single day. So you almost like trick your brain into believing that you are already that person. And like, I think this is a great way, like this exercise is a great way to break this feedback loop that, you know, might not be serving you if you were born into an environment or family that doesn't actually have the true word views. Like the way I look at it is like, you know, if there is someone else who has what you want and you don't, it's because you don't see the world clearly. Like you, it's almost like you have glasses on and the glass is shattered.
Yeah.
And you need to get a clear lens if you want to be able to see things clearly for what they actually are and how the world works. Because blaming other people and like blaming your circumstances or anything, like until you kind of take the blame on yourself, nothing can change. Because
Yeah.
by taking the blame on other things, you are giving up all your control over your life. And
Absolutely.
I think the first step everyone has to take is take the blame for where they are, and like, or not even blame, but take responsibility,
Yeah.
right, for where they are in life. Accept that it's all they're doing, like it's everything that they have done so far in life. You know, even if it's not true, like it's still going to serve you better if you just take responsibility for
Yeah.
everything you've done. And then you are able to then go through an exercise where you really create what you want out of life, and then just read that every day multiple times a day until you like really install it in your brain. And then once you embody that new identity, then you can actually do the actions that lead you to getting the results that you want. I don't know if I was able to like clearly explain that. Maybe you can
Yeah.
add some things to that, but that's something you did as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that thing about taking the blame, um, I I'd like gotten myself in a really shitty spot. We're talking like back when I started the whole entrepreneurship, like online business journey.
Yeah.
I was in like a really bad spot, and it was so easy for me, and I'd kind of been doing it for so long where I just telling myself that it was out of my control and like, oh, why did this happen to me? And all this type of like these types of thoughts were just
Yeah.
running through my brain constantly. And
Mm-hmm.
I was in a lot of pain, but I wasn't I wasn't taking any responsibility for it, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And it was only, and it's actually really good that you mentioned this because this was like a really like pivotal mindset change that I had, is
Mm-hmm.
I just switched my mindset to, instead of being like a victim and being like, why did this happen to me? Why am I in this spot? Um, which when I think about it, it was like it was really my fault that I'd gotten myself to like to the spot that I was. It was just like I just wasn't really willing to admit it. And it was only as soon as I did admit it that I kind of started to free myself from it in the form of like actually getting my physical health in a better spot. Because when I blamed other things, I didn't try to take the actions to improve it, if you know what I mean. It was
Absolutely.
only it it was only once I took responsibility for my own life, realized that the results in my life and what I get in life and the situation that I'm in is under my control, and anything bad is my fault. Um, and just thinking about it like that made it so I kind of just started taking the right actions and started like doing the stuff like and doing all the habits and actually being fully committed into bettering myself as a person. And that was a huge shift that if I didn't do that, then yeah, I don't even know where I would be. And that's
Yeah, and
interesting.
you need to be, I think, like it's you need to have a lot of courage to be able to take the responsibility. And if you look at most people and how they live their life, most people never take the responsibility. They
Yeah,
always just live their entire life in this mentality where everything that all their problems is a product of their circumstances. If you, it's like easiest way, look at the people who are posting things about politics, always like blaming the current politician, the world leaders, whatever, about everything that's, you know, wrong with their life. And they think the reason they are unhealthy, the reason they are broke, the reason they have shitty relationships, and they are like mentally not feeling well, they think it's because of the current person that's on the billboard. Dude,
Yeah.
like it's literally just coping. Like
Yeah.
it has like almost nothing to do with you. If you wanted to really change something, it's as long as, I mean, yeah, maybe if you are in like an actual country where there is like dictatorship and you don't have access to internet and everything, yeah, like maybe in North Korea, right? You know, you might be kind of screwed. I'm very sorry, like I feel very bad for you, but in most like Western countries or even in Europe or all these where you have access to internet, you have access to all the information in the world, you are free to leave the country, right? Let's hope.
Yeah.
In that case, you could change at any moment and point. You are not actually, your life is not controlled by people in the TV and media if you don't let
Yeah.
it be. Like most people are, because they let people control them and let them like program their mind. But it's just up to you, and like up to you to make a decision to say like stop, like fuck that. I'm not going to, you know, live life by the design that other people made for me. I'm going to shape my life the way I want to and the future I want to. And yeah, there's no other way around it than taking responsibility for everything. Like even even today, I got an email which was kind of like a scary thing. I told you this story, but just for the viewers, I got an email that was like, your YouTube channel's partner program is being terminated. And turns out it was for like another channel, and it was like a Google mistake. But I would have taken blame for it immediately. I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm gonna miss out on all my ad revenue because YouTube is so bad, blah blah blah. I would have taken responsibility because like if it was actually true, I was like, okay, why didn't I take any preventative measures to stop that from happening? Or if a
Yeah.
client leaves me, I'm not like, oh, it's the client's fault. It's like, okay, could I have done anything better? Right. And if
Yeah.
not, that's all right. But like most of the times when something bad happens to you, you actually could have done something about it. I'm not talking about maybe things like a loved one dying or something like that extreme, but just these
Yeah.
smaller things we kind of, you know, have problems with day to day. um
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
so we have the self identity. Any other kind of paradigm shifts you want to share or talk about in this mindset topic before we end
Yeah.
off?
Let me think. Yeah, this is kind of a shift, or this is kind of like a shift that I think everybody really needs to go through if they, because especially with social media nowadays, I think people like care too much about, well, one thing is people care too much about what other people think of them. And that's not just if you're creating content on social media, for example, but also people like your family and your friends and stuff like that. This is getting kind of like not deep, but like I think I got this from Alex Hormozy. Like you're gonna die anyways. You're gonna die eventually. Why would you let anybody else? And the way I see it is, I'm not gonna let anybody unless it's like my very like close family and loved ones or whatever. I'm not gonna let them influence what I do with my life because I'm scared of what they're gonna think about me and stuff like that. And I think that, and just feeling like you need to conform, and people go to university just because their
Yeah,
parents feel like they should and stuff like that. Like stuff like this, you're when you're like 80, 90 years old on your deathbed, do you think you're going to be happy about those decisions? And like I think it's way better to just go for things and not live life like scared or um overthinking too much. Or it's very important to be like logical thinking and think things through, but you shouldn't be like just living like in fear of certain things. I think that's
yeah,
something that
that's
also,
true. And also one thing I learned is people don't think about you as much as you think they do, like not
yeah.
even close, right? Like for example, even with me, you know, when I mean, for me, I never really had this question about going to college because I was like, all right, I'm already making way more than what I would with a degree at a job or whatever. It just doesn't make logical sense. But at the same time, I was like, oh, but what do my grandparents think about me? I know they are disappointed. What do my parents think or whatever? But the reality is, it's a very like ego-based thing where you think that other people are constantly thinking about you and like analyzing your life, when in real reality they are just like they just have their own shit and their own problems, which take up all their mental energy. So people are
Yeah,
not even judging you as much as you think they do. Like if you walk on a street in like a stupid dress or whatever, like yeah, you might have people who look at you, but 1 minute later they are back and looking at their phone and they forget about you already. So most of the
yeah,
things you worry about, even if it's like putting out content or stuff like that, or like following up with people and thinking, oh, I might be annoying them, like it genuinely doesn't matter, right?
yeah,
And even bigger things don't matter in the long term, like you said. So
yeah. And also, this is kind of related to that as well. Something that Sam Ovens talks about, and like the mirror, which is like you, the only reason, or very often at least, I don't know, there's probably many exceptions, but the reason you fear being judged is because you judge other people for that same thing. So
absolutely.
I was scared of creating content when I started, partly because my like self-confidence and self-image was just horrible. Um, and that was because, but as soon as I let go of like judging other people for like what they look like and if they looked like stupid on camera or whatever it is, then I didn't have that fear of judgment anymore. So even though I had to work on my like self-image and stuff like that, which is something that you can't just change overnight, you have to kind of work on that over time. But as soon as I let go of judging other people, I instantly like it became so much easier to like do things like create content and
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is
Dude,
really
this is
interesting.
this is so good. I just want to like give you my quick opinion on this. So I think a lot of this is also brought from like your upbringing. So for example, I don't know about you, but like in what if I look back when I was like 5 6 year old, whatever, in my community a lot of people were judging people who went to the gym. They thought that they were like just like, oh, these like stupid idiots who are like bald, and like the bodybuilders or anyone who just goes to the gym. They
Yeah,
thought it's like a lesser of a sport than something like football or tennis or whatever.
yeah,
So or also it's like, oh, rich people are just scamming other people and like they don't create any value, like they
yeah,
are horrible people. You can only be rich if you steal from others. All these things, you might be hearing these things around you if you didn't grow up in like a wealthy environment, probably in like even in just like school or like worst case even from family. But like kindergarten, like all these things get installed in your brain about like going to the gym or making money or being with like a hot like or for example like a beautiful woman being with mainly or a lot of beautiful women being with people who have money, and like all these things get installed in your head, and because other people around you and your surroundings judge those kind of people, right? And the reason they judge them is because they secretly want to be them. They secretly want to
yeah,
have those things as well,
yeah,
right? But so you grow up and you have these like judgments in your head, even without you knowing it. So that stops you from actually getting those things because you might not think, but you are actually silently judging people who run businesses. And you might think like, under the surface that they are like screwing people over, or if they are dating a younger girl or something, like you might be thinking like, oh, that's wrong. Or if they go to the gym, you're like, oh, all they are superficial, or they all they care about is looks, right? and
yeah,
and all these things come from you and your upbringing, from like other people who are coping and who are insecure and wish they had those things. So they get installed in your brain unconsciously, and you have to get rid of these like judgments beneath the surface, because you probably actually want a lot of those things. Like they are not like things that are labeled sometimes as superficial, like a lot of times they are actually not. Like there's nothing wrong with a lot of these things, like wanting
yeah,
to have financial abundance and being able to have freedom to go to wherever you want, take care of your family, stuff like that. Like what's superficial about that? If you look at it like on the deep down, it's not necessarily, if it's not just all about ego and you wanting to like show off, if your drive is to take care of other people as well and like show them the life or whatever, like there's
Yeah.
nothing superficial about that. It's a very deep thing. Or
Yeah.
wanting to be healthy and have a good body so your partner is attracted to you and all that. Like there's nothing superficial about that. You can do any sport. I'm not saying you have to do these things, but like if you actually break down the logic, the reason why probably people around you are judging those things is because they were envious of them and they didn't get it themselves, so they just said, "Oh, it's wrong," right?
Yeah.
That's something I actually just kind of realized looking back. But would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's also like it feels good to say that something is bad if you feel like you can't have it, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean. So I
because
think
then you kind of
people
almost like you free your conscious from this
exactly.
voice that, oh, like I couldn't get it, so it, it's just like, oh, they are wrong, like they are just stupid, they are
Yeah.
superficial, they are all this just because you couldn't achieve it, and that's going to stop you from getting it anytime soon if you have these beliefs. So it's like you have to burn them and replace them with other ones.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to add? I think this has been a very powerful conversation, especially the second half. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want
Yeah.
to
I
add?
think mm, maybe a little bit about like identity as well. I know we already touched on that a little bit, I think, but
Yeah.
the idea of if your identity is too kind of hard jammed on one side, if you know what I mean, then you're gonna have a lot of trouble doing the things that, or like if you have a very strong identity because of maybe you see yourself as this type of person, you see yourself as a person who is unhealthy, as a person who um, eats this type of food, as a person who has always been poor. If you have like a very strong identity, then it's going to be super hard to turn into something that goes against that identity. Um, like, and this is something that I had to change when I was going through like bettering my health, and now I'm like perfectly fine with my health. But back then it was like it was pretty bad. So for a whole year, I had been like seeing myself and all the experiences I'd had were like stacking the scales on one side, telling myself that I'm like a person who isn't healthy. So when I wanted to try to get healthy, that was extremely hard for me because I had this strong
Mhm.
identity. So I had to try to do stuff like visualization and affirmations and like like vision boards, and also just reinforcing if I ever had an experience where I felt like healthy and I felt like I was like quote unquote normal, if you want to call it that, because I didn't feel like I didn't always feel normal back then when I
Yeah,
was
because you went to
unhealthy and
the
everything.
hospital as well a lot of times, right? And you had like pretty serious like stomach issues. Just so people have a bit of context, I hope you
Yeah.
don't mind sharing that, because like
Yeah.
they might not understand what you mean by not being healthy, but like you had actually pretty serious, health problems.
Yeah. So I never had to go to the hospital, but I went to a bunch of doctors
Yeah.
and stuff like that and like specialists. And to be honest, and I I don't think I ever want to go to some type of doctor again. I just despise doctors now because they all told me, like there were even doctors that literally would just tell me to my face like, "Oh, there's nothing you can do about it." Shit like
Mm.
this. And like that's so horrible that they say that to people. So I was going to these doctors and nothing was working. I was struggling with this health stuff for a while until I actually decided to, like take it into my own hands, if that makes sense. Um, but with this whole identity thing, yeah, so with the health, I just needed to stack like, and when I say stack the scales, I mean more experiences that tell
Affirm
myself
that you
that
are
I'm a
healthy.
healthy person
Yeah.
rather than an unhealthy person.
Yeah.
So, and just trying to like kind of erode that identity so I could turn into what
Yeah.
I wanted to turn into.
It's a very good
Um,
point, because I think most people don't understand that identity and the way you look at yourself, your self-image is a very fluid thing. There's a
yeah,
good
definitely.
book called Psycho-Cybernetics I recommend everyone to read.
Yeah,
But yeah, basically, like the way you look at yourself is just the sum of all experiences that you had in your life or sum of all thoughts on that certain topic. So for example, like if you want to change your identity to someone who's healthy, like you just need to think it more times and like have more experiences that affirm that reality in the last time period than the negative ones. That's how you can also reshape your identity, is by
Yeah.
creating experiences, even if it's just in your head and you imagine it. Your
Yeah.
mind doesn't actually really cannot really tell a difference between something that happened in real life and something you thought about.
Yeah.
But like that's what you meant by stacking the scales, is like more creating more of those positive experiences in that certain field, and that can apply to any part of your life, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of
Yeah,
mindset stuff and
definitely.
all that stuff.
That was a really good conversation, Hector. Thank you so much for coming on the channel, and hope you guys enjoyed it. If you watched it until this point, like, you're a champ. It's been quite a long conversation, but it didn't feel like it. So yeah,
Yeah.
if any of you guys want to follow Hector's content, you can find his Instagram and YouTube channel below in the description box. And yeah, again, thank you so much, Hector, for taking the time.
Yeah. I also just want to say,
Yeah.
um, I mean, this whole journey that I've made, I've literally, like, obviously, even like nobody really understands the full extent, because even my family, the stuff I was going through, they didn't understand the full extent, because so much of it was mental and just stuff like horrible anxiety and like just a really bad life. And being able to make that, like, it's crazy in like 6 months or whatever, or yeah, like the transformation that I've been able to make. And I also want to, yes, it's a lot of like taking the right actions, but I want to also give a lot of credit to Vince, because he's kind of been like my mentor through all of it, and kind of like my guidance, and giving me a lot of wisdom, and giving me like the information that I need and the resources, and also just his time and being there for whenever I had any questions and stuff like that. I definitely wouldn't be nearly as far ahead or have made nearly as big of a transformation as I had. So if you're looking to make a transformation in your life or anything like that, I honestly do, because I'm so thankful for the changes that I've been able to make in my life. I honestly really do recommend that you work with Vince, whether that's, yeah, even whether it's something about creative agency and stuff like that, because that was also a big part of it. But also, if you want like help with any of the mindset stuff and stuff, then I'm sure Vince can be of a lot of help for that too.
Thank you so much. That genuinely means a lot, and I'm
Yeah.
very proud of you, Hector. Almost making me a bit emotional, but yeah, thank you so much. And again, thank you for sharing your story. I hope it's gonna help some people. I
I
know it
hope so
will.
too.
So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah. Thank you.